It's about to go down. Ladies and gentlemen, what if the greatest battle you ever fight isn't on the battlefield, in a boardroom, or even in a hospital, but in the quiet moments when you choose to rebuild your life from ashes? Today, ladies and gentlemen, I have a very special guest, Dr. Mario Pacada, a general podiatrist, a wound care specialist, and the podcast host of Just a Healer. Welcome to the stage, my brother, Dr. Mario Pacada. How are you, my friend?
Greetings, my friend Carlos. How are you?
I'm doing amazing. And I'm looking forward to this episode. I cannot wait for us to go deep here. As you and I know, there's a lot of people out there, they are suffering. Mental health is a major issue since COVID. It's a lot of people they are struggling, and I cannot wait, my friend, to go deep as you've been battling and surviving some incredible things in your life. As coming from the surviving the foster care in your childhood and war zones, and dealt with things around bankruptcy and money. A lot of people dealt with that over the past couple of years, and stage 3 cancer. So I'm really, really looking forward to go deep here with you today. And let's start there, Mario. I mean, you've been called Just a Healer, and that happens to be the name of your podcast. But your story is anything but just. Take us back. Foster care, the military, losing everything. How did these fires forge the healer you are today, my friend?
Thank you for the introduction. I think it started, in your home and how you were raised. And as we shared earlier, I grew up in Stockton, French Camp area, small town, and very humble beginnings. Like I said earlier, I was born in Stockton, California, and at the time, my mom and parents weren't settled, and I had a very generous man step up to the plate and become my father. His name was Juanito Pacada. And even though he was my biological father, he stepped up to the plate and said, "Hey, I don't care. This is my son." And he instilled in me the work ethic and the strength that no matter what happens to you, to kind of dig down deep and go within yourself. Because when things go bad, the cavalry's not coming for you. You got to get down and pull yourself up by the bootstraps and move forward. But a lot of it was forged through my foster care parents, who Mrs. Terry Waters and Robert Waters. They were staunch Seventh-day Adventists, very religious, and they forged the power of work ethic and education and just community and giving. My mom would cook dishes and she'd have me take them to neighbors' houses, whether they needed them or not. She would just do that. And she always was a giver and going out of her way to help other people. And for the mere fact she raised, over 162 kids that went through her household. And we and my other brothers were the last of the 3 that she raised. But she forged who I am today by getting up in the morning, taking out trash, cutting grass, all kinds of stuff that you do on 2 acres of land. And little did you know that those qualities or those aspects of your life that you hated as a youngster, you wanted to go out and play and do whatever things, that they would come back and be valuable tools to help forge your life.
Wow, man, incredible, man. You gave me the memories as my grandma. Sometimes we will go on rice, Dr. Mario, for like a very long periods of time. And she would always tell me when I was like, I wish I had more than rice, you know. And she always remind me that somebody else had worse than us. And then what she would do, she would make extra rice, and then we would take it to the people that live in the very, very even more poorer than where we were, that live in shackles, very just, the rain will come in. It will be a nightmare. And we will bring them rice, and we just would eat them rice with them together. She want to teach me something also to see how son, we live poor, but look at these people. It's a little shackle that the rain comes through and there's no, and they don't even have rice sometimes. We are the ones bringing them the rice. And then it's just like, and it was so beautiful. The friendships that we form with the people in the community and some of the lives. And yeah, man, you just literally got the memories here talking about this. I always talk about this so much on the stages. And I always say, man, especially entrepreneurs, for real, listen up. Scars are proof that you survived, but healing is proof you chosen to lead. Let that sink in for a minute.
It does. It's
And I mean, you and I both have a military background and
true.
experience with some of the things that you've done. And I mean, you serve in the army. How did the army prepare you to rebuild your life twice? First, after losing everything, and then after the cancer diagnosis, Dr. Mario. Let's go a little bit deep in there.
So, like I stated earlier, I grew up in Stockton, French Camp area. And after graduating high school, for me, as a man of color, I didn't really see anything there for me. And I wanted to go to college. My parents didn't have the means. My father didn't have the means. And so I chose to go into the military because they had tuition reimbursement, college plan if you served. So I went in there. And one of the things, as you well know, is that the military will try you and break you down and build you back up. But one of the qualities that it brought out is that you your limit is only as far as your mind will take you. You can go further than what you think you can. And I had an interesting conversation with another veteran on the East Coast. He's a medical sales rep, and he said, "Well, what is the common thread we have as veterans and military people?" I said, "We're soldiers. I mean, if we get down, we'll find a way, and if we don't find a way, we'll work out a way." And those are some of the tools that we get beat down and trying to get into medical school, podiatry school, and people say you never make it. You grew up in a foster home. You don't have a way. And you just have to dig down deep, say, well, if I don't have a way, I'll find a way. I remember getting out the service, and about a week later, I started Georgia State in 1985. I didn't have a clue what was going on. I just got out of the service. There's a transition period because you're like in shock. And I took all these courses. Said, I want to go to school. I want to be a doctor. And I took like physics and biology, and I wasn't prepared. And I kind of did poorly, D's, D's, D's. And my military advisor, I was in ROTC. He said, "You'll never be a doctor. Don't even think about it." He said, "Don't you ever come across my desk with any classes for, medical school." And I believed him for like a while. And then I met my wife, and she said, "If you want to be a doctor, go ahead and do it." And so what I did, instead of rolling past him to get into those classes, I would wait to the drop ad period where you don't need your counselor's approval. You just go up to the instructor and say, "Hey, can I join your class?" And he said yes or no. And then slowly but surely, one class at a time, I worked my way back into it. So that
Wow.
was pretty hard. Yeah.
No,
But
man,
the
I love
milk,
that. I love that, man. It's like people tell you something like they don't know how hungry you are. I remember,
that's,
and I know exactly what you mean, man. Going through racism and all the BS, and growing
yeah,
up in Stockton, and back in the day in the '80s, it's still racism was so big, it's still in, and I many times in Brazil, oh, you don't belong on this side of town. My my family in Brazil, we black, white, and native Indian from the Amazon. So I'm like, you don't know me, right? Inside my own head, like I would let it go through here, get out through here. And I always tell people, you don't know my story. You don't know how hungry I am. Some of you guys out there, the underdogs, man, whenever somebody tell you
true.
that, just don't believe them. Like, listen to Dr. Marius. Go follow him on social. Listen to his podcast, Just a Healer. Listen to my podcast, Carlos Inspire Show. Doc, and put yourself in proximity with others that have overcome darkness, the darkest, and seen the devil in their eyes. And they overcome in
Mm,
a tremendous amount of craziness and wilderness as Dr. Mario and I have overcome as kids, growing up in streets and the foster care. I mean, Stockton heavily with gangs.
true.
And the other day I was talking to a good friend of mine, Frank Shamrock, UFC champion. He grew up in the streets in Stockton, and the Diaz brothers also out there in
Oh, yeah.
Stockton.
The Diaz brothers. Yeah.
All these
Th-
great UFC fighters, man, because while you're out there fighting the gang members, and it's like, and it's crazy. The
It was,
struggle is real. So it's such a small world, man. How you and I you were talking about. some of those things. But I always talk about this, like in business and life, the mission isn't to avoid the storms; it's to learn how to dance in the rain and build the goddamn boat while you are at it. Let that sink in for a minute, ladies and gentlemen. And my friend Mario, this is something that's deep. A lot of people are going through this, and I know this is big for you as you and I've been talking. You discovered stage 3 cancer a few months ago, and while you are now using your platform to scream, get your colonoscopy done. And what's the real cost of ignoring our health?
It's priceless. I mean, my father always said that you can have all the money in your world, but your health is the most valuable thing that you have in your life, because if you don't have your health, you don't have anything. And there's a statement that said that the richest man on his deathbed cannot buy another breath of air. So I went through a period where I had saw some changes in my body, and I said, "Yeah, it's okay. I'm a male. I'm healthy. I'll worry about it later." And I started with some bleeding. I was like, "Well, that's okay. Maybe it's hemorrhoids or something." And I kind of ignored it. I went to the VA. I'm a veteran. I believe in the VA system. And my doctor said, "Hey, you need a colonoscopy." And I held off. I held off because I didn't want to know the results, and I knew something was going on. And I finally went down and had it. And the guy was taking me out of the exam room. He said, "Do you work out?" I said, "Yeah, I work out a couple of days a week." He said, "If you work out, you'll be fine." I was like, "What the hell are you talking about? I'll be fine."
What the
I
heck?
didn't even. And so the doctor told me, and I think we spoke about it before, is if you ever got a sucker punch where you weren't expecting it, that was time. And it it showed me that you're one thing that men don't want to face is their own mortality. And
Yeah.
when it hits you, it's like, oh my God, your wife, your kids, your family, your legacy. What am I leaving? So I tell it also to get off my chest, but also to educate people, because you have to get a colonoscopy. You have to see, because the food and stuff that we're drinking, the stress that we go through every day, everybody's going through something in this life.
Yeah.
And you're going to be challenged. You're going to be knocked on your butt, and you're going to say, "Hey, how am I going to get out of this?" And you're going to have to dig down deep and pull yourself up and have a good support system around you to keep going. But I go to VA every day. I just came back from my radiation and chemotherapy. I speak to every vet, and I try and share some love, but it's a game changer.
Yes. No, man. God bless you, my brother, because a lot of people like that. Timeline wise, Dr. Mario, how long did you hold off? How,
Honestly,
yeah, no, real
no,
talk. You know how we roll you on the show
uh,
is yeah.
almost a whole year. I should have got the colonoscopy back in June of last year, and I waited. And the doctor told me, said, "You're just in time. You're not the worst, but you're not the best." But
Yeah.
it's class stage 3, and it's into the lymph nodes. But I'm
No, man,
here.
definitely be, me, man, I'm a prayer warrior, always
Yeah.
saying prayers for you, my brother. And it's a wake up. And I love how you are now using your experience and what you went through now and through your podcast, just a healer, being able to help and be that voice for so many others, because like you say, that little wait, thank God you just, waited a year. Imagine if for the people they are delaying longer than that. Now you can get to levels that is irreversible. And now definitely, my friend, definitely. And you preach, stay focused, but challenge people to be present. Isn't that contradictory, Dr. Mario? Or how do entrepreneurs reconcile the two?
That I think it comes with is the hardest part is being present. You're an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. Sometimes your mind's all over the place, and you're thinking about this, you're thinking about that, and the things that you should be focused on are right in front of you.
Yeah,
And we take for granted who's in front of us, who we're talking to, who's looking after us, and we're focused on other things, and we miss out on the blessings that are sitting right in front of your face.
yeah,
More importantly, the opportunities that are sitting right in front of your face. And I think what I get up and I do every morning, I have a little book that's is gridded out, one of those grid papers, and I put my day on there. I put my subjects that I want to address today, and I write it down. A lot of people say, "Oh, that's old school. You have a phone," but no, I'm old school. I want to write it down. I want to ingrain it from my pencil to my mind to my thoughts to my heart. And when you take time in the morning to take time for yourself, that's how you can stay focused. That's how you can say, well, I should do this today and prioritize what mission that you want to accomplish. It's not always on, you're not always on task. Yesterday was a horrible day for me, had a lot of nausea and stuff like that. But, today's better, get some rest. Every day you can't be 100%. So I tell people that.
I
But you
love
can
that.
always, yeah.
I always tell
Um,
people that writing is the doing part of thinking.
mm, Good one.
Yeah.
But when you write, you encode, it goes right to your brain. And that helped me out through school because I'm not the sharpest tool, but you had asked me one time what my superpower is, and that's persistence. I will grind it out and get what I have to get. And that's the
I
main
remember
thing.
asking you that question, and I love that about you. You know what I mean? It's like we had a really good talk about persistence, and so many people they give up, and it's just like
Yes.
so close to the goal. One of my good friends, Greg Reed, wrote that book, 3 Foot from Gold. And so many people, you are so close, and you give up, and then when you give up, somebody come in, and you're like literally 2 feet away, and they just kept digging, and they found billions of dollars in gold because you give up, you sold the company and the excavation, and that analogy, for you guys listening to us, just keep it going. I often tell my clients, my friends, just like what are we doing here? Like Dr. Mario and I are giving you some tips about the podcasting and just doing this, interviewing others like-minded. Now, this 30 minutes or 45-minute video that we are doing here, interview, now you can take this and it become 30 days or 60 days of content just by putting 1-minute videos out there. And you just, people love videos. They can connect on a deeper level. And most important, you're going to see over the years, Dr. Mario, as I've seen people writing to you, thank you for the podcast. Thank you for the interview. You saved my life. You saved my dad's. You saved my mom. I wanted to quit. And because you showed up, I'm here now. And there's no price. It's nothing that you can put on there, right? Just saving another human being. And then,
I Exactly. I remember I was giving a talk in LA about diabetes, about taking care of your feet, and there's a high incidence of mortality with diabetes, with amputations, kidney disease. And I was giving a talk about taking care of your feet, and about a month later, this guy comes in the clinic. He said, "I'm diabetic. Hey, I got this spot on my foot." And blah blah blah. He was concerned, and I was like, "What's going on?" I looked at his foot, and it was a little spot. It was actually just a little numb, like a little skin tag or something. But that speech made him become aware, said, "Hey, I need to take a look at this." And that's what I want to bring to people is that you have to be aware and you have to have a discerning eye to say, "Hey, what's real, what's not, who's being genuine with you and who's not, and who really cares?" Because there's still a lot of good people in the world. And there's a lot of people that are looking for an inspiration or a light or just one key word. Just a hello will make someone's day.
yeah,
I I called up to my attorney about some business, and the receptionist was on the phone, and she said, "Well, I don't think the attorney's in right now." And I stopped and I said, "Hey, good morning. How was your day?" Before I got off the phone, she said, "You know what? You made my day with that one statement. You never know
yeah.
what words you can bring and what inspirational or just making somebody's day."
Yeah, that's so true, man. And I talk to so many people, Dr. Mario, and they all tell me, especially the people like in the B2B, right? They want to get a hold of the business owner or whoever runs that business. And I said, are you treating the frontline personnel like a queen?
Exactly.
Right? And it could be one extra question, like, how was your day? Like, before asking for something, oh, can I get a hold of your boss or your manager, or all the tactics that people share? But people, they forget about that deeper human connection of really asking in a way of you ask that is sincere, that they can see in your eyes and your body language. And like you say, you make somebody's day, and now that person is going to be your biggest advocate. Now, whenever you need to get a hold of their CEO, her boss, his boss, they're gonna go the extra because they know that you care. They know that you're sincere, right? And it's, unfortunately, people are forgetting being human beings. They too busy being human doings. And man, you grew up in foster homes. How did feeling unwanted, Dr. Mario, as a kid, become the feel to save lives as a podiatrist and a healer?
That's a good question because growing up, I didn't. I had a very loving family, and I actually grew up around my mom and her family until I was about 12 when she moved down to Los Angeles. But I carried that grudge unwantedly, but unexpectedly that, you're just a bastard kid, you're a throwaway and everything. So it kind of gives you that me against the world type thing. But
Yeah,
that's not a good shield to have on you the whole time because you push away people that are trying to help you because you
yeah,
say, no, I'll do it all myself. But as I got older and I got reconnected with my family, a biological family, I found out I wasn't a throwaway. I was a miracle because my mom wasn't able to have any kids and I was born and they treated me as the first grandson. And it's like, wow, I had this going through life that, hey, I'm unwanted. I got to fight everybody. But it actually wasn't the case. And it kind of brought me to my demise when I lost everything, some bad investment, almost lost my family. And it stemmed from those inner feelings, those inner things that, "Oh, I'm not this, I'm not that." And I tell everybody, in your life, you're gonna have to exercise your own demons,
yeah,
and it's gonna bring you down, it's gonna humble you. But, like, there's this book I read, I think that it's in the 33 Laws of Power, where if you're gonna make a change, you have to burn down your degree, your trophies, your accolades, everything, and start from the ashes.
yeah,
And when you go from the ashes to rebuild everything, like I said, I almost lost my family, had to bring everybody back together. My kids were off in school, not doing well because the kids see what their parents see. When you think they're not looking, they hear and see everything. So my son stepped up to the plate and he said, "Hey, Dad, I'm going into the Air Force. This to help the family out so we can get back on my feet." We struggled, and then I was able to get my daughter into West Point. She just graduated. She's serving overseas right now,
so
and
good. Congrats.
my wife graduated with a BS and a master's. So through those hard times, through those ashes, you reforged yourself and your family, and it made us stronger, really strong.
That's real.
And there was one book, and I remember I had a patient who was, back in the 80s, he was a drug dealer, blah, blah, blah. And he got pulled over by, helicopters and everything back in the day in LA. And he said, "Hey, dude, you're moving too fast. You're a doctor, but you're moving too fast. You think you're this, you think you're that." And he offered this book called The Greatest Salesman in the World by O.G. Mandino.
Yeah.
And I said, "What? Why should I listen to you? I got lamps, on my wall. What are you talking?" I bought the book and it sat in my house for like 7 years. And when I fell flat on my face, if you don't get humble, God will humble you. And I read that book and it changed my life because it says you start out the day every day with love in your heart and you greet each day, every person you meet with love in your heart. Whether they see it or not, you say, "Hey, hello, I love you." You don't have to say it. You say it with your heart and it will change everything.
Yeah.
And those growing up forced me to get through the military and school and people who doubted me. But I think it was an unwanted burden that I carried around for a long time, thinking that I was less than, and really I wasn't. And everybody has value in this life.
Amen, man. You're talking about Mr. Mandino, Og Mandino. One of my very dear friends, Don Green, he's the founder, president of the Napoleon Hill Foundation. Him and Mandino were
Mm.
mentored by Dr. Clement Stone, who was friends with Napoleon Hill, Dale Carnegie, all the
Oh,
legends
wow.
from the
Yeah, yeah,
early
yeah.
1900s. And did you know that Clement Stone, Mr. Stone, he took Og Mandino from the streets when he was a drunkard, alcoholic, didn't have anything. He has nothing, but he saw life in him and
Mhm.
he believed in him, even though he was at his ashes. As you're talking about bringing it to ashes and talking about Og, you remind me of what Clement Stone did to him. And look how how incredible life is. If Clement wouldn't believe in Og, you wouldn't have learned from Og, right? And
Exactly.
the millions of people that read Og's book, that inspired by him. Somebody that
Mhm.
people would pass by on the street, just like they passed by you and I when we were kids. Oh, look at these kids. You know,
Yeah.
they don't belong in this side of town. Whether they treat us with races or they talk shit or they try to humiliate us or whatever the shit that you and I went through. But they just never know who you're passing by. That's why I always tell people, man, it's just like be kind, treat everybody with kindness. You never know what somebody's going through behind four walls. You never know who that person you become. And look what
True.
who Odd became. Look how God connected you and I, and now the millions and millions of people that we are about to inspire in the decades to come, and leave a legacy here. Just like Og left, and Clement Stone, and Napoleon Hill, and Dale Carnegie, and all the
Yeah.
people before us that laid the path of personal development. And so cool how you were inspired by the book from a drug dealer. You and I were joking around, not a
Like,
drug
what?
dealer, just a
Yeah.
healer.
Just a
That's so
healer.
cool, brother. So
And
cool,
and
my
I call it just a healer because, people say, "Oh, you're just a podiatrist," but I'm like, "Yeah, I'm a podiatrist," but in the Bible, they show you where Jesus humbled himself and went and washed the feet of the disciples. Like, I'm no better than you. This is who I am. So when I go to people, I humble myself, and you want to help them. And it's a mobile podiatry practice. I go to their homes and you connect with people, you share stories. And like you say, when you go in someone's house or just a 5 to 15, 20 minutes you spend with them makes their day. Some of the elderly have nobody to check on, nobody to say hello to them in the morning. So when I go in there, I want to bring something to the plate where I can make their day, make them happy, or some kind. Some of them I ask them, "Hey, I'm having lunch. Do you want me to bring by lunch?" And yeah, bring by lunch. Those little things, like you said, can shape someone's day, shape someone's life. Who knows? But
so it's so true. And
and oh, go ahead.
no, go ahead. I want to.
No, I was just gonna say, just the healers is not. It's focusing on wound care, which is my specialty, but healer, like you say, growing up in the streets, growing up in foster care, people losing everything, or loss of a loved one, going through cancer. I mean, everybody needs some way to vent and get it off your chest, and we want to be in not just professionals or people, but just real everyday people to share their stories because it inspires others. Definitely.
No, that's real talk, and that's what I wanted to ask you next. Talking about some rebuilding tactics. A lot of people since COVID, even some people, even since 2001 and 2008, the recession, they still in rebuilding mode. Or sometimes, they allow that story to define them, and then the imposter syndrome and the self and all that little whispering voice that we are all very familiar with. And
Right.
I mean, 2 years ago, you lost everything. What's the first step, Dr. Mario, someone's should take when life implodes and now they are in the ashes? They don't have anything, they don't have anyone. And how do you avoid drowning in self-pity? What would be your best advice for that person listening to us right now, Dr. Mario?
So a little correction. It was long. It was like maybe 7 years ago.
7 years.
But yeah, 7 years. So, but the thing is, you have to take personal inventory of yourself, and you have to be accountable to yourself because a lot of times we want to point fingers. It's their fault. It's my mom's fault. She left me. I'm in foster care. Blah blah. You have to take inventory and accountability for yourself. And once you do that, and you look yourself square in the face and in the mirror, and say, "Okay, this is it. Let me turn this around. What do I have to do?" And I fell back on my upbringing. I was raised Seventh Day Adventist, and I remember the words my dad would take me out to the river. You know where Stockton is, the bigger. We go out to the river and have lunch and just talk. And he said, "Man, you're be proud of who you are. You got to be strong. It's in you. Every tool that you need to succeed in this life is already on you. You just have to bring it out of yourself." And I think most people don't want to take inventory or accountability for what they've done or what they've been through. And my wife was real good. Her name's Nicole. She would tell people, "Yeah, I lost everything. I lost everything. And I did this." And I'll say, "Oh, no, be quiet. Don't tell anybody." But now, even with cancer, I tell people because you share a story, then other people share a story with you. Like I would have never knew who had cancer. He said, "Dude, I had polyps 4 years ago, and I never tell anybody this, but I know what you're going through." So the number one thing is self-inventory and accountability. And once you can break down the ego role and who I am, who I thought I was, that's where you start healing.
Yes. Amen. Is that where the name come from that you chose, Just a Healer, for the podcast?
Actually, no. My nephew Marcus Roberts, he had this coined on. He does. he's entrepreneur as well. He has this clothing line that says "Just a Dealer," and he was in the Vegas, and I was seeing some of his gear. I said, "Just a dealer? Why can't we be just a healer?" He's like, "Yeah, that's a great idea because you share. We heal and we deal all the time. We deal with a lot of BS, but we can heal through helping others."
Yeah.
So I coined it through that, but I think it reaches everywhere,
I
anyone.
love it. I love it. Such a unique name, and it builds curiosity. It's like the other day I had Chris Doe on my on the podcast celebrating episode 100 in
Wow, that's
six
right.
plus years. And Chris often, we always talking about branding and marketing, and I done a few 2 cents advising for like Super Bowl commercials, and we always looking at slogans and how can we take a phrase that's already been coined already in people's mind, right? Like got milk, right? And
Yeah.
then
No shit.
God, God healer, or like, just like whatever, right? Just do it. Just heal it, right? So I love it. It's such a great name, just a healer, for the podcast. But again, it's catchy and it builds. Imagine, like sometimes some of you guys listening to us now, you might be going through so much crap and nothing works. When is the last time that you spoke with a true healer like Mario? You know what I mean? And if you're stuck and if you're not able to overcome some of those difficult things is happening, maybe have Dr. Mario come in and speak with your team and talk to you about it. Have a real talk with somebody that actually walks it. Like you say, 7 years ago, you're in ashes. And now look at you, my brother, like just rocking it, the whole family, everybody graduated, and it's just such a blessing, man. As I always say, man, God is good all the time. So congrats on that, brother. Big time.
A-
And you
And
know,
here's another thing. I went to go. This was all 7 years ago. Went through my savings, didn't have anything, and I went to this bank in LA, try to get a bank account, and they're like, "No, you can't." And I was distraught. I walked there like, "What the hell? What's going on?" And there was another veteran outside passing out flyers to recruit Uber drivers. And I stood up there complaining, like, "Yeah, man, these guys really, man, but I couldn't even get a bank account, blah, blah." He looked at me, all he said, "Obstacles create opportunity." And he didn't say anything else. And I froze. I said, "What?" He said, "Obstacles create opportunity." He said, "Get on with it, man." Whoa. And it does because there's always blessings when you think that the road is blocked or you have no other way. You have to sit back and look at the landscape and say, "Well, there's a silver lining somewhere." And if you just look and be humble and be grateful, you'll find it.
amen,
And
my friend. That
yeah,
is so true, man. It's like I always talk about that is light in darkness when you look long enough. I often talk about when you're in the dark tunnel. Normally, most of us we just want to run out of there towards the light at the end of the tunnel. I always tell
I,
people, stay there a little longer
I,
and close your eyes. And
I've been tempted to run out too. Yeah,
you
definitely.
know, no, brother. And Dr. Mario, actually, before I ask you this next question, I want to give a shout out here to one of our companies because we never know tomorrow. Americans are aging so fast, and there's so many people out there that are taking advantage of our seniors in American. And I'm on this journey through one of my companies, disruptorscode.com, where we are helping Asian Americans protect their money, grow their money tax free, making sure that we are protecting them, looking at their trust, at their wills, at their insurance needs, literally becoming the bank, becoming the hedge fund, becoming the government, be the bank,
Mhm.
be the casino. Don't be the ones, you know what I mean? Like I often tell people, don't be the ones that consume social media, be the ones that adds value to social media. Don't do what the bank and the hedge funds are telling you to do. Become the bank and become the hedge fund because they don't pay taxes. They know how to protect their money during recession, depression, whatever action, as I like to call it. So anybody here that's listening to us, you want to get a second opinion on what you're doing it. I own companies throughout the US, all 50 states. I have a bunch of wealth coaches. And we look at people's insurance, we look at people's retirements, we look at people, we give them a second opinion and give them a few strategies that can help protect and grow their money tax free, especially the insurance. That is ways that you can leverage and you have insurance in a way that not only is the insurance, but you also your money is growing tax free and you
Right.
compounding it tax free. So definitely reach out, guys. Disruptorscode.com. Shout out to one of our companies. And now, right back at the episode. Dr. Mario, if you died tomorrow, what is one lesson from your journey that you want your kids and our listeners to remember?
I actually thought about that recently on the tube getting radiation, but the one lesson I want my kids and my family and others is that I'm a warrior. I help people and been through it, and I can share my experience to help other people. Because my dad said that in your life, you're going to have to help one person, but and you always look for the outside, like, oh, I got to help my neighbor, I got to help my friend, I got to help this. And the person you need to help is yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the one that we have to deal with. There's a book, I don't know the title of it. It's called the Mind. I think this is the title. The Mind Plays Tricks on You. And it does. You think one way, and then the other side of you say, no, don't do that. Don't do this. And you just have to be true to yourself. One of the things that happened when I fell down and built myself back up is that you have to be who you are instead of who you think you are. And you have to get down to the core of how you were brought up and fall back on those values that your parents instilled into you. You never go wrong.
Amen, my friend. Amen. I always talk about legacy. Is it what you leave behind? It's what you plant in others that grows beyond you. You know,
So
that's
to sidetrack that, and all my kids have done well, and I'm proud of my daughter who graduated from West Point, but she struggled. She couldn't pass the swim test, and if you don't pass it, they'll kick you out. And when she graduated, her swim coach came to her pinning ceremony. He said, "I want my daughter to be like your daughter." I said, "Why is that?" He said, "Because she would get up at 4:30 in the morning and go down to the pool, start swimming." And then he came in and saw her. He said, "Well, if you need help, I'll come on the weekends." And she made it through by that persistence. And hey, I got to do that. So even though I wasn't there, she learned from me,
yeah.
and my kids learned from me that you are the example for your family, and they're going to be who you are. Whether they see it or not, a lot of times they don't. I didn't see what my dad told me until I was older. And that's the kids are your foundation. Those are your jewels, and those are your legacy.
That's real
Big
talk.
time.
I
It
often tell
is.
people you judge a parent by how their kids are, because they are a mirror of us. They
They are. They
do
are.
what you do, I see my daughter, she loves the stages, she loves speaking, she loves contributing.
Yeah.
She see a homeless on the street, somebody needs, she's like, "Hey, daddy, I found one," because she knows we go and we give them money, all the money that we have a lot of people that sponsor our shows and donate.
Right.
So we take that cash and we go and we hand it to people in the streets. And since she's little, that's all she sees is giving, contributing. She heard the stories of her grandma, and everybody in the family. And it's so true, my friend. And I mean, you survive war zones and cancer. What is one challenge, Dr. Mario, that you dare our listeners to take on today?
One challenge. That's a good question.
You
One
know me,
challenge
man.
I challenge you to walk up to 10 people and say, "Good morning. How's your day? How you feeling?" And say it from your heart, and you'll see a change. And that person's eyes will brighten up, or whatever. And that reliefs will also help you because you're like, man, I'm sharing with somebody else. But it's a challenge because people don't talk them out. Everybody's on social media, everybody's on the phone, they don't connect with people. And we're going to lose a whole generation of caring and looking out for other people. And that's really sad. But
I love it.
challenge yourself to do that.
I love it. What a great freaking challenge, my brother. Thank you for that. As I always like to say, the world isn't changed by someday. That's why I asked him the question today, my friend. So you guys have the challenge. It's today. It's changed by today, right now. What
Right.
will your today create? And that gift that Dr. Mario gave you guys by following through on that challenge, it will bring immense amount of love, caring, kindness to others, because that's what we need more in this world. There's enough division out there. You guys know me. I like to bring people together. I don't care where
True.
they go to church, the color of our skin, or whether we went to school, or how much is in your bank account. You guys know it's our attitude that makes us win. And my friend, wow,
You
almost
know, you had
45 minutes, went on. And wow, we're getting to the last question of the show. And then if some of you guys have been following us enough, you know the drill. Dr. Mario is 50 years from now. You are 100 years old. Is your eulogy. Your daughter or one of your loved ones, they're going to read it. It's going to be incredible people there. If I'm alive, I'll be there smoking a Cuban cigar, drinking some scotch, listening to AC/DC or Metallica or Guns N' Roses. And they're
yeah,
going to say, Dr. Mario Pacada was dot, dot, dot. In your own words, my friend, who was Dr. Mario Pacada?
he was a hmm, I never even thought about it like that. He was a human being who helped people and brought unlike yourself, I was raised Black and Hispanic, and during the '60s and stuff, that wasn't a good thing, and it was hard growing up in that type of environment, but you were able to connect with people and show them that they were, that they were important, they mattered, they need that they had value, and I think it's just that you wanna go through life that you've helped other people, not just yourself. You built a strong family and a family that can continue your legacy of helping and providing and serving others. That's the big thing.
Wow. Wow, I love it, my brother. I love it. You guys know how he wrote. It's live. Dr. Mario, he's in his office. He's a doctor. He's busy. He's making it happen. Even the dog is excited. But my friend, thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Mario, man. You literally, guys, Dr. Mario, he walked through hell and came back with a blueprint for the rest of us. To everyone listening, this man's story isn't just about survival. It's a warning to stop wasting your life. It's an invitation to heal what's broken. Yeah. If this episode, my friends, doesn't make you book a colonoscopy, rethink your priorities, or call someone you love, or take my brother Mario on that challenge today and go say, how's your day going for 10 people? And just saying hi. I want you guys to get out there, tag someone who needs to hear this today. Your pain is your power. Dr. Mario, thank you, my friend.
Thank you
You
so
are
much.
not just a healer, you are a
There you
force
go.
of nature. Ladies and
Hey, man.
gentlemen, you guys know the drill. Oh, before I go there, Dr. Mario, what is the best place that you hang out that my listeners and my followers can follow you? Where do you spend the most time on social media? Is that at your website, or is there a particular social media that you love people to connect and follow you at?
I just recently started getting into social media. I'm not really on it that much, but we have a Facebook page called Just a Healer. We have a Facebook page called Footworks, which is another company we started. And we also started Wound Care Anywhere, where we're focusing on the underserved and rural communities who don't have anybody to go out to service them and provide for wound care. So we're focusing not just in Las Vegas area where our corporate office is, but we're anywhere in the world, especially in the United States. If you need help getting your wound care started, we can come in there, help you get up to speed and start servicing people who are in need.
I love that, my friend. I love that. And guys, if you guys just literally Dr. Mario Pacada, Pacada. Check him out on Facebook on the group Just a Healer. Look it up. Their wound care project. Really cool stuff. Assisting the people that cannot get assistance to them. And follow him on social, on LinkedIn, everywhere out there. And check it out. This podcast, Just a Healer. I appreciate you, my friend. You guys know the drill, ladies and gentlemen. Life is all about contribution, never acquisition. And for everybody that's feeling down, you want to give up, you want to quit on your family, in your life, in your business, remember, two gladiators, Dr. Mario on your right, Carlos on your left,
Hey,
looking you in the eyes and saying it, the days that breaks us are truly the days that makes us.